I'm working on the front porch, and you can see that I have stripped off the cedar shingles except for the bottom course. One of the issues with the house is at some point in the past the original wooden porch must have rotted away, and so somebody decided to replace it with concrete. The trouble is the concrete was poured a little too high, and it was poured against the bottom course of shingles. So I am going to restore the porch as it should be restored for a house of this vintage, but that takes an awful lot of work. One thing I noticed when I was stripping off the shingles is the window trim. You can see right there, there's a wee bit of the exterior window trim that extends beyond the overall width of the window. What I've concluded is that this detail right here, this piece of trim, is actually not original. It's placed on top of the original exterior window trim, and I think it was done when the shingles were installed, because in this section here there was about a 4-inch wide, 5-inch wide strip of roofing felt, and it actually goes underneath this detail. So the other clue was, because the original window trim extends beyond the side of the window, sort of like a T, and when they put the shingles on, they kind of hacked up the molding at the top. What you can see a little bit there is the shadow of what was an OG'd trim piece that went around the top. That's long since gone, but you can see, as I say, what remains. And as I zoom in, I want to zoom out is what I want to do, so stand by. There we go. So as I say, I've noticed those little things as I have taken the shingles off the front here at the porch. So as I say, the concrete replaced a rotted wood porch, but it was poured too high. It was poured against the lowest course of the shingle. So what I have done is I have cut the concrete away from the edge of the house. That's about 1.5 feet, and I have exposed the sill and the studs, which are at the bottom here below the course of shingles. And here is some of the concrete that I've cut that has yet to be picked up. And then what I've done is, after I cut the concrete and removed the shingles, I then excavated down and got rid of all of the fill that was put underneath the concrete, and that's down about maybe 1.5 feet. And that gray that you see there is aluminum flashing. It's 18 inches wide. It goes 2 inches underneath that bottom clapboard, and I'll do the same thing here at the bottom. So the idea is to have a absolutely weatherproof flashing against the sill and the top few inches of the masonry, so that any water that gets past will actually flow down to the earth. And as you can see, when they filled in to pour the concrete, it's mostly a very sandy fill. And when I get down below the sand, then I run into the original soil, which is darker, which would have been underneath the wooden porch. There's nothing remaining of how the wooden porch was supported on the house side, and I have yet to uncover it on the edge, so I don't know what is underneath this. But this was quite a laborious chore with the diamond saw, 14-inch blade, gas-powered concrete saw. And it took me the better part of a day to make 2 cuts here. These are about 17 feet. And to make 2 cuts here, that's about 22 feet. And then to make all of the little intermediate cuts so that I could have manageable sized blocks when I go to pull them out. So I will probably do something else when it comes to the rest of the concrete here. I'll probably make a few score cuts every 4 feet or so, and then get a mini excavator and pull it out with some heavier equipment, because it was back-breaking to do it with the concrete saw. In any event, you can see here at the front door what I was referring to earlier about the trim. And you can see that the original trim, the white and the mustard color, that is the same piece of wood. At the top, the trim goes a little bit beyond, and then there was a decorative molded piece at the top. You can see to the right here, you see the outline there of what was the original trim, and then of course it got hacked off there to accommodate the shingles, and so a lot was lost when somebody had the brilliant idea of, let's put shingles on the house so we never have to paint it again. Of course, what they didn't realize was that the stained shingles, even though they were Western red cedar, they deteriorated as well over the course of 6 decades. So, but they did a good job keeping the clapboards in decent shape, and as I say, I'll be restoring these clapboards, and the house is going to look very, very cool. Here on the corner, this piece originally was actually round, and it was cut at a 90-degree angle to accommodate the shingles. That is one detail that I will want to restore, just because I think it is so cool to have on all of the outside corners a nice round bead detail that's about 1 inch to 1 1/8 inches in diameter. And it goes from the bottom of the house to the top of the house, in this case to the ceiling of the porch, on every outside corner, all around the house. The porch ceiling is original, except for a couple of places where there was some water damage. This is in rough shape insofar as the paint on it is concerned. I do not anticipate that I'm going to stand underneath this and try to scrape it and paint it. It's in pretty rough condition. Even if I had a power tool or even a blaster, that would still be an awful lot of work. So I'm going to do one of 2 things. I'm either going to take this all down and refinish it on a sawhorse, where I can do it in a much more comfortable position, or I will remove the trim piece, as I've done over here on the clapboard side, remove the rest of the trim here against the ceiling, and then put up new, and that way I don't have to worry about too much work, which would also be neck breaking as you try to do this from below. It's a lot of work. In any event, that's what's happening with the front porch. I am going to back up and try not to step in a hole or tumble down the stairs, because I want to get a wide shot of what the front porch looks like without the shingles. So you can see that the clapboards, as the house was originally built, are quite nice. And you know, if you can try to imagine this with a turned post and gingerbread and a lot of little details, once the remainder of the house has been stripped of the shingles, the real original beauty and integrity of the house will be evident. And as I say, I've got some vehicular noise here. I think this is the kind of house that deserves to be preserved, brought back to its former glory, and I plan to do that. So that's what's happening this week on My Old House from Preston, Maryland, and everything is interrelated. You know, I have to cut away the concrete and dig it out, because that concrete had been poured into the sills and into the stud cavities. So here on the front, I can't finish blocking for my insulation until that's all removed, and I can't finish my wiring in the living room until I get the blocking in for the insulation. So 2 steps forward, 1 step back, sort of. But in any event, I'm making some good progress here, and we'll see you the next time.